What's happening, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at. Hopefully, it's been a solid start to the week. August 12th, 2025. Moving right along. Less than 1 month to go to the week one slate. Christmas Day for football fans everywhere. So, just continuing to talk shop, touch base, establish a pre-draft plan as we continue to get ready for draft season, which will be coming up in a couple of weeks. I think I read it's like right around Labor Day. I think it's the Saturday of Labor Day weekend is the most popular day in the fantasy industry for drafts to take place. I think that's what it is. The Saturday before Labor Day is the most popular day for a fantasy draft to be held. So we're less than 3 weeks out from the day that many of you will be drafting for your redraft league. Obviously, some of those bleed into September. Like my redraft league, I always have it the Tuesday before, like 48 hours before the season starts. I think the thinking there was just like, we're just going to be as cautious as we possibly can. We're going to get through as many practices as we possibly can with knowing as much information that we possibly can before the draft. So, regardless, draft season is upon us. We are continuing to formulate plans. I have held live streams thus far over the past few weeks doing running back rankings, navigating the running back dead zone in this year's draft. If you're interested in that, I did that instead of like a traditional RB2 rankings, just because ranking running backs 11 to 20 is so volatile. You might get like 50% of those rankings somewhat correct. The running back position is so fluid. So much changes year over year. So many new faces enter, older faces leave. After, it could be a short-term stay, a long-term stay. There is a lot of, turnover in that range of outcomes for running backs. So instead of doing a straight-up RB2 rankings, I talked specifically about the running back dead zone in that live stream and how to navigate it this year in particular, using data from JJ Zachariason and his model that is a part of his draft plan. Talked about players that I like and am targeting. Some sleeper names made their way in there, and some players that I'm fading as well. Both of those, of course, are time-stamped with the talking points over the course of the stream. So some streams, if you want to check them out to maybe help, whatever resources that you're using, research that you're leaning on to create and formulate your draft plan. Just some streams that have previously happened on this channel if you haven't caught them. If you'd like to take a look. So with that, we'll do a mock draft today. And I have it up on I'm sharing it now. The link to join the mock is starred or pinned at the top of the chat. If you have a valid sleeper ID, go ahead and join if you would like. It's just a mock. There's no money involved. This is just a practice round, something that you can mess around with, like as a real-time practice shot, like a first swing, so to speak, for a redraft draft. 12-team league, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, a flex, a kicker, defense, 4 or 5 bench spots, half PPR scoring. Anyone is free to join. I've not claimed my spot yet. I will take one. Just before the draft, just before we start. And I will talk about each team at the end. I'll talk about anybody who joins the draft. I'll talk about your team first, and then I'll talk about the computer generated teams, just because I'm not holding anybody up when talking about those, but I can give a bit of a breakdown there as it, as that team gets developed. And maybe it's something that you like. Maybe we're in agreement. Like, oh, that computer built a good team. Maybe we're in agreement. Maybe we're not in agreement. It'll at least give us a talking point, a crutch to work off of, again, for the real thing. So we'll kick that off. I am going to go over news and notes first. There's some things to catch up on since last week. A couple of big ticket items that are worth talking about and discussing over the past couple of days. And then we'll do the mock. We can kick that off. Again, anybody is welcome to join with a valid sleeper ID. The link is pinned at the top of the chat. So let's get some practice runs under our belt for redraft season. And as always, AMA, any fantasy questions that you have, feel free to drop them in the chat. I will get to them as I am moving through news and notes, and as I am moving around, through the draft, I can get to them as well. As we get closer to season start, I may as well start my spiel about the channel. If you are interested in becoming a member, those details are in the first link in the description of this stream and all streams and videos on the channel. Perks include, but are not limited to, getting priority responses to questions and comments in the chat. So this in particular may come in handy for you when I hold my start-sit streams. You can jump the line. You can skip the line. You will get your question answered. I will respond to you by username, so you'll know that I'm talking to you, and I will answer your question out of order, when there's 20 some odd start-sit questions populating in the chat, so you'll get some priority responses. So there's a couple of different perks that you have available there. Feel free to check it out if you're interested. I think prices are relatively fair. Not asking for too much. And I didn't even adjust for inflation this year. That's how much I like you guys and how much I like hanging around and doing this. So just something to consider as we get closer to season start. All right, let's do news and notes. And then we'll go from there. The big item that needs to be brought up, the elephant in the room right now, is the health of Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford. Going into the weekend, this past weekend, Sean McVay was quoted as saying Stafford's going to go through a workout. I believe it was on Saturday. The Rams played Saturday. So Stafford was going to go through a pregame workout, throw the ball, see how he feels. If all goes well and there's no setbacks, he practices yesterday. He would have practiced yesterday. He went through his workout on Saturday, and I don't recall there being any reported setbacks. So it seemed like we were in the clear because Stafford has not been practicing at Rams camp so far through camp. I wasn't making anything of it up to this point, up to this past weekend, because he's a 37, 38-year-old vet. He doesn't need these early practices. He can, he's older. He's not as, he's probably lost a little bit of athleticism. But as far as like the cerebral part of playing quarterback goes, Matthew Stafford can do that in his sleep. There's no concerns on that front. It was just a matter of him getting his body ready and getting the reps eventually in practice that you want to see the starting quarterback have with his offense. Fast forward to Monday, and he's not feeling well enough to practice. He's not practicing. This like rehabilitation like truck of sorts was then like seen at Rams practice, and Stafford went in it for like a little rehabilitation, I guess, appointment, so to speak. Suffice to say, he didn't practice yesterday. He's getting extensive treatment for his back, and he didn't practice again today. I am officially, I never want to overreact to off-season developments too soon, but I'm officially concerned about Matthew Stafford. Because this is a setback. Unless like the Rams are playing some type of game with us, with still 3-4 weeks before the season starts. The plan was for him to practice this week. He took the first couple weeks of training camp off. Okay, fine. Vet quarterback, maybe doesn't need those first couple of weeks of practice. But then we go from, he's going to work out on Saturday before the preseason game, and if all goes well, he's going to practice this week. Well, he warmed up. We didn't hear anything, and now he's missed back-to-back practices to open the week that he was supposed to return to practice. I'm officially worried about Matthew Stafford. That is, which is so significant, not in one quarterback leagues, super flex leagues, obviously, but in one quarterback leagues, Matthew Stafford is not on the radar for fantasy purposes as anything other than a streaming guy or a bye week fill-in. But this matters big time for Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. Puka is a first-round pick or a high second-round pick in redraft leagues. Adams is, maybe a mid to late third, maybe early fourth. Obviously, a lot of redraft leagues often skew heavy toward drafting running backs earlier and wide receivers later. So that pushes a guy like Adams maybe into the fourth round. If Matthew Stafford is not, we'll go there at this point. If Matthew Stafford is not playing quarterback for the Rams week 1, Puka's awesome, but I don't want to take him like before the late second round. If I know that Matthew Stafford is still less than 100% going in, in 2 weeks from now, let's say, or 2.5 weeks from now, when drafts are taking place, when your league is drafting, if 2.5 weeks from now we haven't seen much improvement from Matthew Stafford that from what he's done to this point, I might take Puka in the late second round. So that would be if I have, a top 3 pick in the first round. So at least I can get a stud option. But if he's catching the ball from Jimmy Garoppolo, I am way less enthusiastic about Puka. And then Davante Adams becomes, a 4th or 5th round pick, assuming that the backup quarterback, whoever is throwing the football, doesn't favor Adams over Puka, he loses a lot of value as well. Man, I don't like this situation for the Rams officially. It is a concerning time to consider drafting either Puka or Adams, and it sucks because we've invested so heavy in them. Puka's a late first, early second round pick in almost every redraft league, and Adams is a late third, early fourth. I think I got to move Puka as of right now, like down half a round, maybe mid to late second. And I don't know that I would draft Davante Adams before, like, let's say the 4-5 turn. This is a concerning situation. This is a concerning development for the Rams pass catchers. It's also not great for Kyren. I would probably move him down a couple of spots just because, again, if Stafford is missing games, missing time, then the backup quarterback, that brings the whole offense down. In most scenarios, in all likelihood. So even Kyren, I would slide down a little bit. And then nobody else on that offense is even worthy of a dart throw. Not the backup running backs, not the tight ends, not, whoever the wide receiver 3 ends up being for them, whether it's Tutu Atwell or, Jordan Whittington. Like, none of those guys are on the redraft radar. They weren't really anyway, but they certainly aren't now. This is one to monitor and stay plugged in on, but be prepared to pivot away from guys like Puka and Davante Adams if Matthew Stafford is not healthy. Christian Watson expected to begin the season on the PUP list. No surprise there. Brandon Ayuk, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan, he envisions, I'm paraphrasing his words, I'm not saying them verbatim, but he envisions Brandon Ayuk returning week 6. So that would almost make Brandon Ayuk a certainty for the PUP list, which we felt it was going in that direction anyway. Now it seems like a foregone conclusion. And then Shanahan goes as far as to say that he may not return until week 6. Brandon Ayuk is, some people may view him as a second half league winner. I view him as undraftable in redraft leagues. You could maybe take a shot on him late in a keeper league, but there's a lot of risk there as well because you're eating. Let's just say that 6-week timeline is accurate, and Ayuk misses the first 5 weeks of the season, the first month plus of the season. You already have a nothing burger from those 5 games, and then he needs to, however long it takes for Brandon Ayuk to ramp up, get his sea legs under him, start reaching his expectations that we have grown accustomed to with Ayuk as far as performance on the field. That may not happen for a few additional weeks, maybe even longer than that. Brandon Ayuk might start being Brandon Ayuk. I don't know. I want to say like week 12, 13, maybe another month after whenever he comes back. And that might be generous. That might be like a generous projection for Ayuk, just trying to be, glass half full, best case scenario. We have no idea how this injury is going to, how long it's going to linger, how long it's going to prevent Ayuk from getting up to full speed, doing just practices as opposed to rehab work on the injury. I would draft George Kittle everywhere. If you can draft George Kittle, I know it's dicey to start drafting tight ends in the middle rounds. I think Kittle is going a little higher than that. He's more of like a 3rd or 4th round pick, maybe 4th round. Kittle might get all the work that the most work that he has ever received in this 49ers offense. A lot of it has been, he's been a stud. Kittle has been awesome, but some of that production can be fleeting here and there. If Kittle's an excellent blocker, he's the most complete tight end in the league. There are some weeks where there have been, a fair number of weeks over Kittle's career where they haven't needed him as a pass catcher because they're running the ball so well, and he's a part of that as an elite blocker at the position. So it has been inconsistent production here and there. He's still a tight end 1, but he's always, Kelsey has kind of been that overall tight end 1, and Kittle's more in the 2, 3, 4 range. He's in the tight end 1 overall conversation this year. George Kittle is with this Ayuk projection. Ricky Pearsall, there's a lot of enthusiasm about him in his second season. But Jawan Jennings is dealing with a calf injury that he has been missing time. I also have questions about Jawan Jennings' consistency. So Kittle is shaping up to have, I would think, the biggest target share that he, if not like a top 2 target share that he has ever had over the course of a season in his career. I would be drafting George Kittle as many times as you possibly can. Brock Bowers and Trey McBride are late 2nd, early 3rd round picks. Kittle should probably be going right in that range, but he's about a round and a half cheaper than those 2 guys. So, I think you're getting a discount on Kittle where there shouldn't be one. I would be, he would be, like, Brock Bowers is incredible. Trey McBride catches a million passes. If I had to put money on who's going to finish tight end 1 overall, it would be Kittle for me. Because I think he's got the least amount of competition that I think he's ever had for targets. And of the top 3 quarterbacks who are throwing the ball to the top 3 tight ends, Kittle has the best one. Purdy is a better quarterback than, I like Geno Smith, but I think Purdy is better than Geno, and Purdy is better than Kyler. as just a quarter as a thrower of the football. I think Purdy is the most superior. So that is like a feather in another feather in Kittle's cap. I would be drafting Kittle everywhere, and I would not be drafting Brandon Ayuk in hopes that you can stash him for a second half run. I don't see that coming to fruition this year. Jordan Love to undergo procedure on his left thumb, expected to be ready for week 1. Not great, but could be a lot worse. Not going to change any projections on Jordan Love or the Packers offense. Unfortunate that he has to have a procedure, but it's a non-throwing hand. I'm not too worried about Jordan Love. Eagles, this matters. Eagles guard Landon Dickerson was initially, feared to have suffered a major injury in practice a couple of nights ago. He will undergo a minor procedure in the coming days with the goal of him returning for week 1. So he may miss week 1. Maybe he has to miss the first couple of weeks of the season. The important thing here for the Eagles and for guys like Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, it is not a season-ending injury. It does not appear, at least right now, that Landon Dickerson will miss too much time, if any at all. That is a sigh of relief for people who have Jalen Hurts, people who have Saquon Barkley. And this stuff matters for the whole offense. So A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith as well. You can proceed as planned with drafting your Eagles. Amir Abdullah, season-ending injured reserve. Brevin Jordan, season-ending injured reserve. Rondale Moore, season-ending injured reserve. Unfortunate for all of these guys. Obviously, you want clean bill of health for everyone. It's just simply not the case. None of these guys were on the redraft radar, but nevertheless, speedy recoveries. I think that is about it for news and notes. Tajay Spears, high ankle sprain. That's right. Undraftable. I hate to say it. I hate to say it about Tajay Spears, but a high ankle sprain. He was already, I like his talent, but he already underwhelmed last year. Tony Pollard took the yeoman's share of work. He did a little bit better recently. Or toward the end of the season, he improved a little bit. But, high ankle sprain, going to miss the next few weeks. That's the type of injury that can and often does linger into the season. Tony Pollard is going to see a spike in ADP, as he should. Tajay Spears, I think, moves to undraftable. I would not be drafting Tajay Spears, and I say that as somebody who likes Tajay Spears. Alexander Madison, season-ending neck surgery. So I think, add that to the list. Ollie Gordon, Jalen Wright, these are the guys who are going to have opportunities behind Devon Achane this year. Madison will not be a factor due to season-ending neck surgery. Hopefully he's okay. I hate seeing like the neck. That's not good. Hopefully he's okay. Najee Harris may not be ready for week 1, but that doesn't matter to Greg Roman. He just had a quote about a half hour ago that there will be a rotation no matter what, talking about the Chargers backfield. He then said the day of the one running back taking every rep, it's kind of gone the way of the prehistoric creatures. So I guess, if we're to take Greg Roman at his word, there will be at least one other running back in the rotation with Amari and Hampton for the LA Chargers when their season begins, whether it's Najee Harris or not. Najee continues to recover from the eye injury that he suffered around or maybe on the 4th of July. Has not practiced yet. We are officially in the territory where is Najee going to miss like half the season here? Like, is he going to miss multiple games? Is he going to miss... is he going to be available? Is Najee Harris going to be available week 4? I don't know. Is he going to be available week 8? I don't know. I'm not sure. This continues to stay very strange. This whole situation, still not practicing. I mean, we are less than a month from the Chargers' first game, which is the Brazil game that first Friday against the Kansas City Chiefs. So, he doesn't even, I don't know that 2 extra days matter at this point, but he doesn't have those 2 extra days because they don't have a Sunday game. They have the Friday game in Brazil against their division rival. So, Amari and Hampton, wheels up on him. We're drafting him as an RB1. Najee Harris, I don't know what's going on with him, but I would say he's of the Tajay Spears mold, the Brandon Ayuk mold. You can't draft him right now. We have no idea when he's going to play. We have no idea when he's going to practice. Forget playing a game. When is Najee Harris going to practice? I see Mike joined the mock draft. What's going on, man? Thanks for popping in. I will continue to go over a couple of more news and notes. I see a couple of questions in the chat, so I'll be sure to talk shop on those. Give people a few extra minutes if there are anybody interested in joining the sleeper draft, and then I will kick it off. Let's see. Tyrod Taylor is going to miss the rest of the preseason. Justin Fields' stranglehold on QB1 was already not in question, but Tyrod will miss the rest of the preseason. Cowboys offensive tackle Tyler Guyton is taking part in some walkthroughs. No timeline for his return yet, but at least he's doing something. I think that's about it. Rachaad White day to day. I mean, decent depth guy in drafts. Rachaad White, I don't hate him, but if he's picked up an injury, he's not the starter anyway. If you want to move him, if you want to remove him off of your running back like depth options, dart throws, sleeper. If you have Rachaad White on any of those charts and you want to take him off because of this injury, like that's fine. You're not going to get any argument from me. All right. I think that's about it for news and notes. If anything pops up, if there's anything I didn't talk about that transpired over the past couple of days that you would like to hear my thoughts on, just let me know. And if anything drops in the form of breaking news, we will, of course, cover it here. So a couple of questions in the chat, and I will get to them, and then we'll maybe kick off this mock draft. Again, if you are interested in joining the mock draft, the invite to that draft is pinned or starred at the top of the chat. If you have a valid sleeper ID, you can join. It's just a free mock draft. It's just a nice, fun, no stakes practice run if you want to take a shot before your redraft league, before the real thing, which I assume is taking place in the next couple of weeks. It looks like this team was already concocted, though, so we can talk shop about it. Hurts, Bijan, Hampton, Neighbors, Ladd, Evan. Okay, it's a 10-team league. What I don't understand is how you got Bijan and Neighbors and Ladd and Hampton. I mean, I don't know, and I don't know if you already made like a trade or two. 10 teams are shallower leagues, so teams are going to be a little more stacked in 10-team leagues. So I get it, but those are 4 top 20 picks. Bijan's a top 5 pick. Neighbors is a top 9 or 10 pick. I mean, and then Ladd and Hampton are both late 2nd round picks, maybe early 3rd. I don't know how you collected that group, but that's pretty damn good. I would say that's pretty damn good. Like, I'm not even worried about your other I mean, Hurts is awesome. He, QB 4 or 5 any given year with QB top 3 upside every week. So that's good. But like, I understand it's 10 team, but Bijan, Hampton, Neighbors, Ladd, those are 4 top 25 picks. That's crazy that you got all 4 of those guys. That's unless I'd be curious to see what the board looks like from your draft. I don't know if like are people taking quarterbacks early? Is it like are the quarterback settings like loaded up? Like 6-point passing touchdowns. Like, do quarterbacks score lots of points? Do they go high in drafts and that pushes other guys down? I have questions. I mean, well done. It's a great collection of talent. I'm surprised that you were able to accumulate it. So, well done. It's a good roster. It's a good team. Yeah, that's an impressive collection of talent. Do I think Najee would have been any good? He would have been. I guess that's the key word though, is would. Even when they drafted Hampton, Najee was the guy I was drafting in best ball earlier in the season because he was the cheaper guy. I thought, well, he's going to at least get a few starts to start the season, if not a couple more, if Hampton is slow out of the gate or if Najee, takes advantage of an early role as the veteran and he's running well in a Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman offense that wants to run the ball. And, they signed Mekhi Becton in free agency. They extended Rashawn Slater and made him the highest paid tackle in the league. They still have Joe Alt in his second year. Herbert's a good quarterback. Like I wanted a guy like Najee. But now, I mean, yeah, it's fair to say, what does he even bring to the table at this point? He hasn't been able to practice. The Chargers have been in training camp longer than most teams because they played in the Hall of Fame game. So, we're talking about a month at this point. I think that over a month of practices that Najee has missed to this point. So, yeah, what does he even bring to the table? And obviously since all that went down, Slater is now going to miss the entire season with a knee injury. Joe Alt's going to play left tackle, which is his natural position. So I guess that's good. But he had been previously practicing, training, and getting reps to be the right tackle. So now he's got whatever that process looks like, he has to start over. They're going to bring a backup in to play right tackle. They're going to keep Becton at guard, which I guess is the right move. But yeah, I mean, what does Najee's contributions even look like now if he's even able to get on a practice field? And he's way behind Hampton as far as reps. Now, obviously, he's a vet, so maybe you worry about that a little bit less in a vacuum, but he's not getting reps and cadence and timing down with a new offense, a new scheme. Maybe it's a favorable scheme. Running backs tend to do well in Greg Roman's scheme, but like what does Najee look like whenever he's able to come back? So yeah, I don't really want to draft him. I'm not interested. Brian joined the draft. Thanks for joining in. We'll kick this thing off here shortly. If anybody else wants to take a spot in the mock draft, you got a couple more minutes here before I kick it off. 12 teams, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, tight end, flex, kicker, defense, 4 or 5 bench spots, whatever. It's just a mock. It's just a practice. Half PPR, 2 minutes per pick. So I gave it a little extra time for the humans in the draft to make their selections and take some time and think about it. And it gives me time to talk about it. Talk about my options, my selections, and reactions to other teams' picks. So invite is pinned at the top of the chat or starred. Feel free to join with a valid sleeper ID. And we can do a practice run. And I will talk about everybody's team after the draft, after the fact. I'll give you some feedback on your team. I'll skip the computers because they're just computers. I can quickly go over their team if I like their roster construction, but I will focus on anybody who any real drafters who assemble a team. Yeah. So I don't want to draft Najee Harris. I guess Kamani Vidal, I get is the handcuff. I don't know what that looks like. I mean, who else is on that? Who else do they have? Like the backup, you should be keeping an eye on whoever wins this RB2 job for the Chargers, because we figured it was going to be a committee all season long. And if Najee can't go, now that player who is the team's RB2 is basically going to be free. You're going to get maybe 50 cents on the dollar as far as what you were expecting from Najee versus whoever steps up. But they're not going to cost anything in drafts, and in shallower 10-team leagues, they may even be a simple free agent pickup after the draft. I mean, the depth chart currently is Hampton, and then Kamani Vidal, and then Hassan Haskins. That's right. They signed Nyheim Hines. He's now Nyheim Miller Hines. He hyphenated his last name. Kamani Vidal, Hassan Haskins, Raheem Sanders, Nyheim Hines, Jared Patterson. I mean, good luck. I guess, Amari and Hampton just prioritized drafting him in the late second round. And at this point, if you're having a draft in 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks from now, and Najee Harris is still not practicing, Amari and Hampton is probably very well could be like a mid-second round pick. His stock is going to continue to climb every day that Najee continues to miss practice. Brian, thanks for joining the draft. I will kick it off here shortly, but I'll take your question first. I'll give people a couple more minutes. There's going to be 3 of us now, Mike, Brian, and myself. I will pick one spot that is available. I'll give it a couple more minutes. Last call for anybody to join the mock draft. If you're interested, it's just a no risk practice round. If you want to take a shot, get a first swing in before the real thing in a few weeks, whenever your league is drafting, feel free to join with a valid sleeper ID. And then I will talk about your team after the fact. Metcalf or DJ in full PPR. DJ Moore's ADP is higher. Metcalf, I believe, is more of like a 5th or 6th round pick. DJ Moore is maybe like a late 4th round pick. So consensus is going to say DJ Moore. I guess I want to say DJ Moore because I don't know if Caleb Williams is good, but I think consensus is we trust Ben Johnson a little more than Arthur Smith. Ben Johnson, the Bears head coach, and obviously going to be the mastermind of their offense. Whether the offensive coordinator calls plays or not, it's Ben Johnson's offense versus Arthur Smith's offense with, they're going to run the ball a lot of 12 personnel. DK is the one. He is the one wide receiver where you're like, okay, I know this guy's going to probably get 170 targets. I would say Metcalf has the higher floor, but Moore has the higher ceiling. But he also has, I would say, he has the higher ceiling. Metcalf has the higher floor. Moore could crash out if Ben Johnson, if we find out that like Ben Johnson doesn't like DJ Moore, which is possible. We've seen some offseason headlines about players buying in on a play-per-play basis and giving max effort and all that stuff. And I'm paraphrasing, but the general thought seems to be that those comments were indirectly sort of thrown in DJ Moore's direction. Because he, a couple times last year, was on tape of him, maybe kind of mailing it in on some run plays, not giving max effort on a block, this, that, and the other. Ben Johnson doesn't sound like he's going to stand for that. So as long as DJ Moore is in lockstep and is buying in if DJ Moore is buying into Ben Johnson's system, mindset, then he's fine, and I draft DJ Moore. If there are any concerns about that, though, and I've not heard anything for a couple of months at this point, so that could have just been off-season headline filler. Who knows? So I guess DJ Moore. Assume the upside of the Bears offense is a little bit more intriguing than the Steelers with a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. And I assume they want to run the ball more than the Bears do. The Bears want to throw. I think they want to prove that the system works and that Caleb is good. I don't know if it's true or if he is. But I would expect the Bears' passing volume to be above and higher than the Steelers this year. Metcalf has always been kind of okay compared to expectations. He's never really blown the top off outside of his rookie year. I think he's finished below. I think his wide receiver finish for the season has been below ADP. I don't know if it's every year, but it's most years. Metcalf undersells or underdelivers. I actually like him this year at cost, but I guess I would take more. I'll take the upside of the Bears offense, and if he crashes out, then you can chalk that up to like I couldn't have seen that coming. Like how could I have possibly known that DJ Moore doesn't mesh in a Ben Johnson offense, which I don't think is going to happen. I mean, we've seen the reports that DJ Moore is taking handoffs out of the backfield. They may utilize him in a gadgety type of role and increase his touches that way. So, if he's playing wide back, so to speak, that adds value. That adds value. I'll take Moore. I'll take DJ Moore. I don't dislike Metcalf, but the consensus, Moore is around more expensive. The vibes on the Bears offense are like they're so right now. I'm not trying to put too much stock into it because I'm not trying to go too high on anybody or too low on anybody in camp. I think general consensus is kind of down on the Bears right now, down on Caleb Williams. That seems to be the consensus. It's practice. Like I gotta, if it's bad in the regular season, then fine. Shame on Caleb. We thought he would be better. We thought he was going to be good. I don't want to overreact to bad performances in training camp because we've seen that before and it turned out to not matter. We've seen bad training camp performances early in their careers with guys like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying Caleb is going to be those guys. He probably isn't going to come close to those guys. But I'm not going to kill a second-year player in his first training camp with a new coaching staff. Not yet. So I'm willing to all this to say I'm willing to buy the Bears offense. I'm willing to, I think, there's still optimism with Ben Johnson and the changes that they made as an organization over this past offseason. So I'm willing to still buy the Bears. I'll take DJ Moore. I'll take DJ Moore. We got another guy. Somebody else joining the draft. Thanks for joining. We will kick this off here. We'll kick this off here in a couple of minutes. And I have to take my place. So team 1 is taken, team 6 is taken, and team 12 is taken. So I could either go I could go 2 through 5 or 7 through 11. I might take I like the first 6 picks this year, so I might intentionally pick a different spot in the draft to give myself a bit of a challenge. And I will. I will take team 9. I will take team 9. I do think Evans clears both DJ Moore and DK Metcalf. He's not a spring chicken. He's probably only got a year or 2 left. He only barely continued his streak of clearing 1,000 yards for a season last year. He missed a little bit of time due to injury. But I'm willing to bank on future Hall of Famers, and Mike Evans is a future Hall of Famer. When you clear 1,000 yards receiving in every season of your career, and you've played 11, 12 seasons in the NFL, and you have a Super Bowl ring for good measure, you're a Hall of Famer. I'm willing to bet on Hall of Famers, so I'm willing to still bank on Mike Evans. I think he continues to get his typical target share. Chris Godwin is returning from a dislocated ankle. He's still in the middle of a rehab process. He may not be the Chris Godwin of old this year. We may not see that. Emeka Egbuka, there's a lot of vibes. There's a lot of excitement about him. It's possible maybe he leads the team in targets as like their slot receiver. I think his presence, if he's able to make an impact right away early on, I think that helps Evans. And there's a lot of positive vibes around Egbuka right now. So, I do think that helps Evans. But the fact that Godwin is still working his way back and still in the middle of the rehab process, not as much practicing right now, I think that means that Evans' target share is safe. There's no questions of, will it be Evans? Will it be Godwin? Will it be Egbuka? Because Godwin's probably not going to play week 1. He might not play the first few weeks of the season. So Evans, from that point, has a chance to get off to a strong start right away. And he's a baller. He's a stud. He's a Hall of Famer. He rolls out of bed and gets 1,000 yards on the season. Wash, rinse, repeat. Even in his advanced, I think he's 33 now. Is he 32, 33 years old? I'm not willing to bet on players that are that old unless they have been studs their entire career. Oh, he's 30. He's turning 30. He's 31 now. He's turning 32 in like 9 days, Mike Evans is. So he's still just 31. That actually makes me feel even a little bit better. Yes, Evans clears both DJ Moore and DK Metcalf, and I am more than happy to take him late third, early fourth, if depending on the build of my team. Okay. Talked news and notes for a bit. Took some questions in the chat for a little bit. We got a couple more folks joining in for the mock draft. Love to see it. Thank you guys for popping in. I am going to kick off this mock draft. Again, I will take time to, I'll take as much of the time as I think is necessary to talk about my picks. 2-minute timer, so enough time to kind of talk shop and also give some feedback on other teams' picks as the draft unfolds. I'm going to go ahead and start this thing now. I will talk about each team at the end of the draft, so feel free to stick around, and I will you put together. I will talk about the computer builds, but I will not spend as much time on those because they are computers. However, if there is any one particular team that is put together that I like, I will call it out just for the purpose of the exercise. Puka at 6. Well, I know what I'm going to do here. And it's going to be something that some of you are going to probably be grossed out by. Because it's redraft, I want to be mindful of, yes, we start 3 wide receivers in this hypothetical league. But I want to be mindful of the importance of running back, the impact of running back, the significance of having an RB1. And there is a guy here who I think, based on what we have seen so far this offseason, I feel good enough to draft. There were some flags and concerns earlier in the offseason just based on how last year went. Those seem to be alleviated. The target share should be huge. He's got RB1 overall upside. I'm talking about Christian McCaffrey, the biggest, probably the biggest risk of the first round right now. But we play to win. We swing for the fences. We don't swing to hit singles. We swing to hit home runs. Christian McCaffrey is either a home run or a strikeout. There is no in between. Winning for the fence. And we are off. Sorry if you missed the mock draft. I tried to give as much time as possible for to get the opportunity to join. There will be more in the coming weeks. If you missed this one, but thank you to those who were able to join. This is an interesting spot for me. First of all, I like Brian. I like those picks. I like the Nico Achan 1-2 turn. I think you made out quite nicely there. For the purpose of balance, I want to take Drake London here, but I think it would be. I don't think I can pass on Ashton Genty at this point. Genty, I think, is deserving of going a spot or two higher than this, especially in redraft. I wouldn't blame anybody at all taking him in this range, in this anywhere from 10, 11 to the turn up to this point. Should be a foundational running back. 300 plus opportunities are coming his way. The Raiders had nobody at running back going into the draft, and then they made him the 6th overall pick. There aren't going to be too many competitors for touches in this backfield. Genty is going to get all the work he can handle. He is a generational prospect. I know I took McCaffrey. I prefer to start with a wide receiver and running back, but in this situation, I think the value is too good to pass up. I will be starting running back, and I am taking Genty. I like getting London. I like getting London in the mid-second round. I think. I mean, between Darnell Mooney's injury. Oh no, sorry. It's a little. Oh, man, Sleeper is so sensitive when I'm like navigating the mouse. If I like slide, because I'm trying to slide it to the left so everybody can see the top of the draft, but you slide it a little too much, it like off the page. It's like it boots you out. I was saying I like the Drake London pick. Mike, I know you're a Packers fan, so I'm not surprised you went Jacobs. I mean, he should be a bell cow this year, so no issues with the pick. Just letting it be known. And then Ninja Turtles, team 1. Chase is, makes all the sense in the world at 101. McBride at the 212 is a pretty popular spot for him to go. So I'm good with that. And then Kyron, I mean, just got paid, drafted to be a low end RB1. I was gonna take Kittle. but Tebow took him instead. As a 3rd round pick, Kittle feels like the value at tight end, which sounds crazy to say about a tight end drafted in the 3rd round when there's already 2 other tight ends who are at cost more expensive than Kittle. I mean, Brandon Ayuk, week 6, to me, like saying week 6 is no timeline to return. Jawan Jennings, calf injury. Ricky Pearsall, intriguing young player. See what type of strides he makes in his 2nd season. McCaffrey is a ticking time bomb. He's awesome, but he's 29 and lots of injuries, or maybe he's 28. Anyway, I think Kittle's in for a mammoth year as far as target share. I quite like him at tight end. Okay, I went running back, and there is a wide receiver here who I am very excited to draft because I did not think he would be available to me. T. Higgins is getting drafted generally like a wide receiver, low-end wide receiver 1. He's locked into his contract. He's attached to what should be one of the most high-volume passing attacks in the NFL in Cincinnati. 1, because they have Joe Burrow, and 2, because they don't have a defense. I will be taking T. Higgins. And there goes Hampton. The stupid computer took Burrow with no Bengals stacks because, of course, it did. Not that I wanted to draft him there. So this would be where I would be ready to take a player like Davante Adams. But the Matthew Stafford back injury today in this mock draft, where he has missed 2 practices where we expected him to practice, is enough for me to say I don't want Davante Adams here. I will be looking elsewhere. I'm just going way down the list to see if there's anybody here that I want to take. I don't think so. Yeah, I just got done talking about Mike Evans and how he clears guys like DJ Moore and DK Metcalf, who are right here. Rashee Rice could be looking at a suspension, so I don't really want to draft him this high. I could use a wide receiver after starting running back. I just got done singing Mike Evans' praises. I think he's still a stud, even at 32. I don't like banking on guys this old unless they are like future Hall of Famers, and that's what Mike Evans is. So we're going to take Mike Evans. Walker Hurts. Yeah, the problem with Stafford, yeah, Mike, you took Puka 6. 4 or 5 days ago, I wouldn't have batted an eye at that, right? Puka's a stud. Puka's awesome. If you want to believe in him as wide receiver 1 overall, no problem. But now all of this, Stafford went through his Saturday workout, which was planned and expected, and we didn't hear any reported setbacks. And then that was supposed to be the bridge, the step into he's practicing Monday, practicing Tuesday, and now we're at back-to-back missed practices for Stafford with this bad back. I'm officially worried. I'm worried for his availability for the start of the season. So I'm fading. I'm not drafting Puka in the first round anymore. I'm not drafting Davante Adams late 3rd, early 4th anymore. I don't feel good about it. Bucky, I see it. Bucky should be higher. I think that's about where I'm comfortable taking Bucky. Bucky's awesome. I don't want to insinuate that he's not. Bucky's great. I'm a little worried about the start of the season for the Bucs offense. I guess I should be a little less bullish on Mike Evans then, but at least he's a 4th round pick. But Tristan Wirfs, their starting left tackle, or he's their starting right tackle, excuse me, might not be ready for the start of the season. If he has to go on the PUP list and miss the first 4 weeks, I'm a little less bullish on the Bucs offense to get off to a strong start relative to their expectations. So I think Bucky late 2nd makes sense. And to be honest, if you want to draft like a Chase Brown over him, I'm okay with that. I would have been okay with Amari and Hampton. I moved Hampton up into my RB1 tier, but for the purpose of this mock, I didn't want to take him because I went running back to open the draft. The Rashawn Slater injury stinks, so maybe I wouldn't take Bucky over Hampton. But had Slater not gotten hurt, I would have declared that Hampton over Bucky and Kyron and Breece Hall and Chase Brown, given the Najee Harris eye injury. All right, where are we at here? I know exactly what I'm doing. I am going to one of my targets. If you caught my target and sleepers live stream last week on Thursday, then you know that I'm quite bullish on this wide receiver. And after going running back to open my draft, I want to continue hammering wide receiver. because we start 3 in this hypothetical league. So I want to make sure that I am filling out my depth and balancing my team appropriately. I am bullish on Jameson Williams. I think he's going to continue to get better. He's still only 24 years old. The loss of Ben Johnson is a little concerning, but there are still good pieces in this offense in Detroit. Jared Goff is not a spectacular quarterback, but he's solid enough to get the job done and support multiple fantasy relevant players. JMO's a big play waiting to happen. I am swinging for the fences. I am targeting JMO where I can in the 5th round. I am more than happy to take him. Yeah. I like London. I like the London pick. I like Higgins. I'm feeling good about in the 3rd round. I like Kittle in the 3rd round quite a bit. I like Kittle quite a bit. Let's see. The computer took the guy that I wanted to take. Brian, nicely done taking Travion Henderson. I figured I wasn't going to get him in the 6th round. He is a swing for the fences league winner. Yeah, I figured I wasn't getting him. So nicely done. Maybe I should have taken Henderson in the 5th round, and then even if I don't get JMO, I get somebody like a Zay Flowers or George Pickens, who I don't like as much as JMO, but I like Travion Henderson and RJ Harvey a lot more than the other running back options left available to me. That being said, I have Calvin Ridley starred down here because I really like him for a lot of targets this year, but I don't know if I can bring myself to take him over guys like Pickens. Let's see here. A lot of tight ends have gone. I see that now. A lot of tight ends have gone, but a guy that I am fine targeting is still on the board. And given, what's going on in Minnesota, I like TJ Hawkinson as a target for the young quarterback in McCarthy. Jordan Addison is going to miss the first 3 games due to suspension. Justin Jefferson will continue to be his stud wide receiver 1 self, assuming that the hamstring is not a significant concern. Hawkinson should get a lot of targets. I, just for the sake of seeing what this build looks like, am going to go Hawkinson with other tight ends off the board who I would be willing to draft Hawkinson ahead of. So I'm going to take Hawk here. I just want to see what this looks like. All right, let me go team by team. From the 1 spot, Ninja Turtles, Chase McBride, Kyron, DJ Moore, Kamara. I like that. I like that. I like that group. I will do a little bit more analysis after the draft ends. I like that squad. Mike is team 6, Puka, Jacobs, Daniels, Hubbard, and Njoku Adunze. Yeah, the Puka pick I'm not as excited about because of the Stafford development. Everything else is fine. I don't know that I wouldn't take Njoku over Kelsey or Hawkinson. So I guess I don't like that pick. But I like the Adunze pick. Tebow, Jefferson, London, Kittle. I like that start a lot. And then come back with Hurts, Pacheco, Swift. I like that. That's a 0 RB build or a modified 0 RB build. Obviously, Pacheco, Swift, 5th round, 6th round. It's not total 0 RB. It's like modified. I like that start. Pacheco and Swift are kind of boring. And I mean that like not. I don't dislike the picks. They're just not very flashy. but that doesn't mean that they can't get the job done. Pacheco should lead the Chiefs backfield in opportunities. Swift might lead the Bears backfield in opportunities. I guess we assume he will. I don't know that he will, but he is the favorite to do so right now. So at least there's that. So I like the process of Tebow's team. I really like those first 3 picks. Jefferson, London, Kittle. That's a great start. And then I would have maybe gone Travion Henderson over Isaiah Pacheco. But then I'm fine with the DeAndre Swift pick, given your other options. I will skip my team, and then Brian went Nico, Achane, McLaurin, Tyreek. Tyreek in the 4th round is a nice that's a nice like roll of the dice. Love the Henderson pick. I like Kelsey this year. I do. I personally like Hawkinson a little bit more, so I would take Hawkinson over Kelsey if I had both available to me. But I don't hate that strategy. All right, a lot of good players went off the board while I was talking. So we are at the point now where we're kind of in this running back dead zone. Nobody here is like really exciting to me. So I'm going to go back to the well at wide receiver. I think Stephon Diggs is mispriced on Sleeper. He's older. He's coming off an injury. He might not be what he was, but what he is still his team's wide receiver 1. He should get a wide receiver 1 target share from a quarterback that I think most people are bullish on and excited about in Drake May. So I'm going to take Diggs. What's this questionable tag that he's got? Didn't offer any specifics on why Diggs sat out Friday's. Oh, that's the preseason game. Oh, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about a 31-year-old wide receiver coming off a torn ACL not playing the first preseason game. I don't care. This is obviously a computer, ADP hasn't corrected yet. Don't do this. Don't draft Judkins. He is impossible to get a read on. Okay. I was kind of hoping one of those 2 running backs would have fell to me, Brian Robinson or Tyrone Tracy. Neither did. That's okay. But we are really in the running back dead zone. We are in the running back doldrums. I will tell you guys right now, I am between Jaylen Warren and do I have a quarterback yet? I don't have a quarterback yet. I'll wait on that. I will wait. I'm between I want to get an RB3 here. I don't want to walk away without because now I'm going through the rest of the 8th and most of the 9th round without an RB3. I don't feel comfortable about that. I want to grab a running back. So I am going to I don't think Jordan Mason is properly priced. I think this is too low for Jordan Mason. I love Aaron Jones. I've been an Aaron Jones guy forever. Will continue to be, and I have no problem with Aaron Jones and taking him. But I do think both Vikings running backs are viable this year. And so to get one of them a round and a half cheaper than the other, and it's the younger one to boot, I feel comfortable doing that. I feel comfortable taking him. Let's see. Addison in the 11th or 10th. This is a keeper question. Do you have any other viable keepers? If not, then thankfully we still have more time for a contract situation to get sorted out between Terry and the Commanders. if that happens, assuming that happens, the team and player get a deal done, they come to an agreement before the start of the season, and McLaurin is suiting up for Washington in week 1, then the answer is Terry McLaurin. I don't know how much time you have before you have to declare these keepers, if you have to declare them in a couple of weeks, or if you have time until your draft. So obviously you don't need to make a decision. I assume you don't need to make a decision today, but I would lean Terry. He is a concern right now because he's missing valuable practice time, and a contract negotiation is an off-field distraction. So that can be a concern for fantasy production because football isn't necessarily the focus right now. Getting paid is the focus, which I am totally for Terry getting his money. But for the purpose of fantasy, being in practice matters even for the vets. These contract holdouts are distractions, and we see players not necessarily meet expectation oftentimes when these things go down, when these situations take place, take shape. Now, Terry as an 8th round keeper, you're not worried about that stuff because he's an excellent value from that spot. So you just live with the repercussions of the contract negotiation and keep it moving. But we need him to sign for us to actually want to keep Terry McLaurin. Addison, I like, but missing the first 3 games guaranteed kind of makes me not. I mean, the price is right. An 11th round price is right, but you're not getting anything from Jordan Addison for the first 3 weeks of the season. So, and that's a guarantee. That hurts. Where at least with Terry, if you know he's playing, he's in your starting lineup. I should probably slide this down now so that everybody can see the picks that are currently being made. And then we'll go over everybody's roster, starting with the human players at the end of the draft. So my answer would be Terry to this question, assuming he signs a contract with the team. Yeah, my answer would be Terry. Can continue to take questions. If anybody has any fantasy-related questions over the course of the draft, I'm happy to take those. This is an AMA as always, but right now I am on the clock, so I have a decision to make. I don't have a quarterback yet, so I want to start looking at at quarter. I don't have a quarterback, so I want to look at quarterback options for the purpose of stacking. So I'm checking my wide receivers. I have Higgins. Burrow is gone. I have Evans. Mayfield is gone. I have J-Mo. I don't really want Jared Goff. Hawkinson would be McCarthy. Too early. Diggs would be May. Too early. Okay. So I'm just going to take I guess, whoever my favorite player is here. The question is, who is that? I am not going to take a tight end because I already have Hawkinson and I invested in Hawkinson. Like, don't do what Team 5 did, drafting Laporta and then drafting Jonnu 4 rounds later. That is just a bad use of resources. So I like Tyler Warren, but I'm not going to draft Tyler Warren because I don't want to flex a tight end, and I already have Hawkinson. I think a lot of guys on Sleeper are mispriced. And at this point in the draft, I want to – don't be afraid to ignore ADP. If you think a player is priced incorrectly and you want to take that player at a certain spot, as long as it's not an obvious egregious reach, then make the pick. And I'm going to take Rashid Shaheed here. I do not know how much upside Rashid Shaheed has, but what I do know is he's not 2.5 rounds less valuable than Chris Olave. In fact, there have been times where I was questioning whether Shaheed was, in fact, the Saints wide receiver 1. The Saints quarterback situation stinks, so I get it's hard to get excited about most Saints players outside of maybe Alvin Kamara. But Shaheed is good. He is a baller. I want ballers on my team. He is a big play waiting to happen. And he's healthy after missing a lot of the season last year to injury. So I will take Shaheed. I was hoping Zach Charbonnet would get back to me in the 10th round, but he did not. I don't really want to take Javonte Williams here, but it's worth, like, it's a decent roll of the dice because he might be the team's starter. I don't know that he'll be the team's starter, but he might be the team's starter. And I can take a risk, or I can take a shot, 100 and however many picks into the draft on a potential team starting running back. I don't love Javonte, but I will take Javonte. Not crazy about him, but I'll take the shot. I believe Mooney remains week to week. I would not be drafting Darnell Mooney. This shoulder injury is not. It seems like it's a pretty serious one. It seems like it's a pretty serious injury. So I would rather not draft Darnell Mooney. That's a really good pick. Ekbuka in the 9th round. That's a pretty good pick. I would move him up a round, like a full round, if we know that Chris Godwin's not suiting up week 1, and I'm pretty sure that is the case. There we go. There's camp news from a Twitter account. So we can read that, see what's going on. What's the latest from around camp today? Mike is team Green Bay. You are drafting Packers. You are staying true to your team. And there's nothing wrong with that. Jordan Love's a good pick. He's quite cheap. That is a good pick. There are some good quarterback options down here. There's a guy I want to draft here, but I kind of need another guy to go in these next 2 picks so that I don't have to make a decision. Because if both of them are available, and they are, I want to take Drake May, because I think May is going to have a really strong fantasy season, and I have Stephon Diggs, so I can build that stack. However, I don't know if he is a great NFL quarterback, but what I do know is Justin Fields is an excellent, on a per game basis, fantasy quarterback because of his elite rushing upside. And unlike last year, he is the unquestioned starter for the Jets, probably for the entire season. He would have to be so horrendously bad to lose his job. And that's no disrespect to Tyrod, but Tyrod is what he is at this point. He is a veteran journeyman backup. Fields is probably not the Jets' future at quarterback, but he's more likely the answer than Tyrod is. So the Jets might as well give him the full season to see what he can do. And I would rank Fields objectively in a vacuum ahead of May in quarterback rankings. So while I want May, this value to me is too good to pass up. I think Fields is mispriced on Sleeper. I think he should be going multiple rounds higher. So I will forego the stack, and I will take Fields. I do really like Drake May this year for fantasy. Let it be known, this is a great time to go ahead and grab him. If you have, like, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, you invested a high pick, then don't draft another quarterback. But if you have a question, and see, I was one spot away. If you didn't have a clear, QB1 option, then this is a great spot to take Drake May. I would have been very happy if he had fallen to me here. I had to go Fields. I have Fields ranked ahead of May for quarterback rankings this year. So I had to take Fields. But I wanted to take May because I have Stephon Diggs, so I had the chance to build the stack. So instead, I'm going to build a very boring handcuff situation at running back. I took Javonte Williams. So I might as well double down on an ambiguous Cowboys backfield and take Jaden Blue as well. And then that way, my chances of landing whoever the one guy is who is worth owning, I'm increasing my shot at that. So I'm going to take Jaden Blue. Coming up on these last few rounds. Yeah, it ends at the 15th round. So last few rounds, I like that pick of Kyle Williams. I like that pick of Bishal Tootin. Tebow's team came together nicely. I like that. I like that squad. Stick around after the draft. I will talk about each human. So team 1 is Nunja Twirtles. Team 6 is Mike. Team 7 is Tebow. I am team 9. I can, I'll try to give you an unbiased look at it without thinking like I love this team. And Brian, team 12. So I will talk about each of their teams. I will quickly talk shop on the computer teams. If there's a build that I specifically like, I will call some things out. And that'll be that if there aren't any other, questions, which feel free to answer them, whether you have keeper questions or redraft questions or value questions. I'm happy to take them. I am regularly here now for the month of August, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 p.m. Eastern. That will extend to Saturdays and Sundays during the season for start sit help. So 4 live streams a week in season. If you become a member of the channel, you will get priority responses to questions and comments. You may find that comes in handy during start sit streams. When there are a lot of start sit questions, I will call you out by your username. I will prioritize your question, even if it comes in after other public questions. Other perks about becoming a member of the channel can be viewed in the first link in the description of this live stream. I'm also on Discord for anybody who is not a part of the Discord. Second link in the description of this live stream. Free invite for anybody who wants to join. I'll be in there a little bit more frequently during the season. We can answer questions in there. Is that the first defense? It's not the first defense. The Broncos were the first defense. Interesting. Trey Benson, good pick, but that does leave me a guy that I quite like, who I am happy to take, and that's Ray Davis. He is a sleeper running back target for me. I do not expect James Cook to score 18 touchdowns this season like he did last year. The contract situation seems to be coming to a resolution. Cook returned to practice today. The contract hasn't been signed, but Cook returned to practice today. So I don't think Cook is going to miss any time or miss any games because of this hold-in. It seems like that is coming to an end. However, he has missed practice time here and there with the contract dispute, and that has opened the door for Ray Davis to take some extra practice reps, presumably with the first-team offense. And I think he's a solid player. I think he's a pretty good player. I think they're going to get him involved a little bit more than they did last year. So here at the end of drafts, I like taking a shot on another depth running back, and I will do that here with Ray Davis. I have one quarterback. I drafted Justin Fields. I have one tight end. I drafted TJ Hawkinson. I will not be drafting another one of the onesie positions. I will rock with the quarterback and tight end that I draft for at least the first few weeks of the season before I consider making any changes. I will be. It's loading up. The focus is loading up on running backs and wide receivers. It's not uncommon for me to not draft a kicker. I will draft a defense, but I will try to typically draft an IR eligible player, stash that player on IR, and then pick up a kicker later. The Minnesota Vikings stand out as what should be a solid fantasy defense this year. The Ravens, but they play the Bills week 1, so I don't really want. I'm not going to draft the Baltimore Ravens or the Buffalo Bills defense. We may expect both of those defenses to be solid for fantasy purposes, but they play each other week 1. I don't really want to start a defense that's playing against Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, so I will not be drafting Baltimore. Seattle, I mean, they play the Niners week 1. I'd rather not. I will take a shot on the Vikings. They are playing the Bears week 1. I want to believe that the Bears offense will be solid because that would be fun. The Bears being good would make fantasy more fun. We don't need the Bears to have fun, but it would be more fun if the Bears are good. DJ Moore, Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, Colston Loveland, DeAndre Swift. It would be fun. But week 1 against a good defense, breaking in a new system, I'll roll the dice with the Vikings. My thoughts on Ricky Pearsall this season. I think that's a toss-up between him and Egbuka. I like them both quite a bit. I think Pearsall has a chance to be the 49ers wide receiver 1 this year. Not overall. Obviously, he might be third in the pecking order behind McCaffrey and Kittle for targets. But I like Pearsall a lot. I think he's going to be I think he's going to be good. I think he flashed last year in a very small sample size to end the year. It was a weird season for him, obviously, right? With getting, he got shot in the offseason last year, and it kind of wiped out 2 months of his season, basically. But Debo gone. Ayuk not coming back anytime soon. Jawan Jennings is nursing an injury. They're pretty much down to Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and Ricky Pearsall right now. The 49ers are. So I quite like Pearsall. I like Egbuka a lot. I want to believe that he could lead the Bucks in targets and catches. I don't know that will translate to touchdowns. I feel like that might be the Mike Evans. That's Mike Evans, Bucky Irving territory. I think Pearsall has a clearer path in his second season to take that step forward. So I would probably go Pearsall. I like Igbuka. I think he's going to be good. I think there's a non-zero chance you can get both. What's their ADP in this draft? Igbuka went 9-1. Pearsall went 8-6. Okay, so it might be tough to get both. I would lean Pearsall as a second-year player, and I'm on the clock. Is there anybody down here who is IR eligible and I can stash them on IR for the purpose of my exercise of not drafting a kicker? I also just don't want to draft a kicker. Who am I taking? I'll take a shot on Woody Marks. Joe Mixon is hurt. Nick Chubb is old. Just another dart throw running back. And that about does it. For this draft. Appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out. Thank you for thanks for hanging out during the mock. Hopefully this was fun. Let me take a couple of these questions in the chat, and then I will give my thoughts on each human team. I will give quick thoughts on the computer teams. But this was fun. Hopefully this was fun and helpful for those of you who joined. And thank you guys, whether you did or not, for coming in and hanging out today. So, yeah, I would take Ricky Pearsall over Igbuka. I like them both quite a bit. I'll take Ricky in his second year of experience under his belt now. The sample size was really good. He was a first-round pick last year. Igbuka was a first-round pick this year, so that's negligible. I'll take Pearsall in his second season, a year of NFL experience, and wide open opportunities for him to make an impact all season long. Debo gone, Ayuk hurt, Jawan Jennings nursing a calf injury. I'll take Pearsall. I like Igbuka a lot, though. Make no mistake. This is a question about Josh Allen in the second round. I wouldn't. I would hope I could get him in the third round. I would prefer to get a stud running back or a stud wide receiver. And it's not that I don't believe in Josh Allen. I fully expect Josh Allen to continue to be awesome, to continue to contend for quarterback one overall. It's just that the value that you can get at quarterback later in the draft is so much more likely to hit than a dart throw wide receiver or dart throw running back. You are more likely to get value at quarterback at the end of the draft than you are running back or wide receiver. So while Allen is awesome and super fun to have, and I don't blame anybody for wanting to just go and get him because he is an annual favorite to finish as QB1 overall for fantasy, I would rather take a shot at a stud wide receiver or running back and get a quarterback later in the draft that I like, who I think can give you 75 to 80 cents on the dollar at an extreme discount to a guy like Josh Allen compared to, taking an Ashton Gente, A.J. Brown, Drake London, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor in the second round versus, having Josh Allen, but then my wide receiver 3 is, a Michael Pittman or a Keon Coleman or a Rashad Bateman or it's just like, it's not as, I don't feel as strong about about my team top to bottom when I pass on a stud running back or wide receiver for Josh Allen. Josh Allen's awesome. He's probably going to be the QB1 overall yet again. And at worst, he's QB3. And even then, it's probably a super close race. In one quarterback leagues, though, I'd rather get a stud wide receiver or running back in the second round, and then I'll target like a Drake May or a Justin Fields 7, 8, 9 rounds later than you have to draft Allen. If you disagree and you just want to take Josh Allen, then take Josh Allen. But I would say, like, let's say you draft Josh Allen in the second round, and then let me just look at where did Justin Fields go? I took Justin Fields in the 11th round. So the wide receivers that went in the 11th round were Keenan Allen, Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris, and Rashad Bateman. Let's split the difference and say Jaden Higgins. Do the trade in your, would you rather have Josh Allen and Jaden Higgins? Or would you rather have somebody like Drake London and Drake May? Or Josh Jacobs and Drake May? Or Drake London and Justin Fields? Or Jonathan Taylor and Justin Fields? Would you rather have a stud running back and a guy who we are going to rank as a QB1? Or would you rather have the overall QB1 and a guy that we're ranking as like a wide receiver 4 or 5 or a running back 4 or 5? And for me, the answer is give me the stud running back wide receiver and the value quarterback all day. All day. That is my personal opinion. Take Allen in the second if you want. If you're locked in on it, I don't want to stop you from what is your plan of attack that makes sense to you. But if I have to take Josh Allen in the second round of a 1 quarterback draft, then I'm not going to end up with Josh Allen. I'm going to end up with anybody else who's going in the second round. Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, Genty, Brian Thomas, Drake London, A.J. Brown, Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers. I'll take Bowers, stud tight end. Taylor, Jacobs, Bucky. I will take those guys. And then this is just a question is like basically how do you start your draft? Nico Brian Thomas would be a great start. But if you go like Nico first round and in the early second round, Devon Achane is there or Derrick Henry is there or Ashton Genty is there, I would prefer one of those 3 running backs to Brian Thomas if you took Nico Collins in the first round. If you take Christian McCaffrey in the first round, then I might say, yeah, take Brian Thomas. Like balance that out with grab a running back, grab a wide receiver, keep your options open for later in the draft. It comes down to your league's scoring, your league's draft, like where your draft position is in your league. How many wide receivers do you start? And what do you yourself value historically when building your team? Do you go robust running back the tried and true way? Do you like starting wide receiver in half in full PPR leagues and going the 0 RB build? Like what feels the most comfortable? And doing these mock drafts may help you answer that question for yourself as well. Look at the build that you put together after a mock draft and tell yourself, be honest with yourself. Oh, I like this team. Or I actually hate this team. I hate the way this looks. I actually like when I look at a team from a mock draft and hate it. I like when I don't like the team that I build in a mock draft after the fact because it helps me mold what I want to do and don't want to do even more. It brings it more into focus. Like, oh, okay, I took this player in the 6th round in this mock. I actually hate the way the rest of this team looks. So I'm not going to do that when the real thing comes around, and I'm more likely to like what I do because I already tried something and didn't like it when there were no stakes involved. And now, obviously, the real thing and a mock are going to be different. What your league mates do is going to be different from what happens in mock drafts. But again, you know your league mates better than anybody else. You know their tendencies. You know what they're most likely to do in drafts. You know the guys that are tried and true. You know that if there's a guy in your league or gal, if there's a person in your league who is a zero RB person. You know if there's somebody who is like, I'm going to start my draft running back every time. And then you know if there's what is probably the majority, but who knows, that are going to look for balance. They're going to look for running back, wide receiver to start their draft, to keep their options flexible as the draft moves on. So, where are you drafting? What's the scoring? Who's available to you in the second round and third round? Like, go further down the board and look and see, like, okay, I think these guys are going to be available. And then just go from there. I think Nico and Brian Thomas are a great 1-2 punch. But if I draft Nico at the end of the first round and I can get one of Genty or Derrick Henry or Devon Achane, I'm going to do that over drafting Brian Thomas. If it's full PPR, fine. But if it's half PPR and certainly standard, give me at least one running back through my first 2 picks. But, if you haven't lost hope in Breece Hall, it sounds like, Braylon Allen might get involved this year. Breece might be the top dog and the 1A in the backfield, but is Justin Fields going to vulture rushing production? Is Breece Hall's target share going to go down? Because that's a common trend that we see with running quarterbacks. Quarterbacks who run a lot and use their legs like a Justin Fields, generally we don't see a big target share go to the running backs. So, are you not worried about Breece Hall? Then sure, plan to target him in the third round. But if you are, then I would say maybe, or if you're if you're second guessing it, then maybe grab Achane or Henry or Genty in the early to mid second round, or Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Amarian Hampton in the late second, early third. So there's a lot of variables at play. A lot can happen. But yeah, look down the board when you're drafting next. Like, look 2 picks down when you can, when you have a break in the action, and try to eyeball. Okay, who do I think is gonna be available to me, and then build from there. Okay, let's go over these teams. And then I'll check for any other last-second questions before we call it for the evening. Team 1, the Nunja Twirtles. Jamar Chase, Trey McBride, Kyron Williams, DJ Moore, Alvin Kamara, Jerry Jeudy, Caleb Johnson, Kyler Egbuka, Tank Bigsby, Keenan Allen, the Broncos defense, Dicker the kicker, Sampson, I like that pick, and Josh Palmer, I like that pick. I like this team. Chase is chalk at 101, but he's probably the safest player in all of fantasy. He's still only 24, 25 years old. He was the triple crown at wide receiver last year. He's probably the best receiver in the game, and he catches the ball from Joe Burrow, one of the best quarterbacks in the game. It is a fantasy goldmine, so that makes sense. Trey McBride is a threat to catch 100 passes once again, because that's what Kyler does. He targets Trey McBride. So I like him in the late second. I like Kyron in the early third. He just got paid. The Rams committed to him. We figure a bell cow workload for Kyron is in store once again. I like that as your RB1 at the 2-3 turn. DJ Moore, Alvin Kamara at the 4-5. I like that. I think DJ Moore is a solid value there. I would take him at this point over Devontae Adams. I would take him over DK Metcalf. So I like that. I like that pick. Devontae Smith maybe, but it didn't matter. You didn't have that option anyway. So I like that pick of Moore. Kamara makes sense. Veteran, stud fantasy performer year after year after year, catches a lot of passes, might be a bad offense in New Orleans, but Kamara's volume should be incredibly safe. So I'm fine with him in the 5th round. Jeudy is a wild card. If Joe Flacco starts the entire season for the Cleveland Browns, then Jeudy might be one of the steals of the draft. The problem is we have no idea if that's going to happen. If Kenny Pickett gets in there, if Dylan Gabriel gets in there, if Shedeur Sanders gets in there, that is in all likelihood going to make all Browns pass catchers a little less valuable than they would be with Joe Flacco. So Jeudy is a wild card. He had a fantastic season last year. Really came on strong in the second half, especially after the team traded Amari Cooper. Jameis Winston certainly helped with that, with his with his YOLO style of playing quarterback. We'll see if that will replicate itself in some way, shape, or form. I do think Jeudy is quite talented. It is a risk for sure, but it's not too expensive of one taking him in the 6th round. Caleb Johnson, I like in the 7th round. That's like a let the cake bake situation. He may have a role early on. In all likelihood, him and Jaylen Warren are going to split opportunities as Caleb Johnson continues to get his NFL sea legs under him. But the expectation, by all accounts, is that Caleb will take a significant portion of backfield opportunities eventually over the course of this season. So as an RB3 stash and wait, I don't mind that pick. Grabbing Kyler because you drafted Trey McBride at the 2-3 turn. I am not crazy about Kyler, but he is a solid fantasy option at quarterback, and he makes sense to grab when you invest in Trey McBride at the 2-3 turn. And Burrow isn't an option for you to take after drafting Jamar Chase. So I like that pick. I love the Igbuka pick in the 9th round. I think he's got excellent wide receiver 3 appeal for the season. So I like that pick. Bigsby is a great value pick to me. I think he's got a chance to lead that backfield in carries and therefore potentially get goal line opportunities and fall into the end zone 7 or 8 times. And I will take that from a 10th round pick every single time. Keenan Allen is we will see. He just signed with the LA Chargers, so he reunites with Justin Herbert. The team that he spent the first, 12 seasons of his career with. So familiarity, continuity there. We'll see how things shake out with him and Ladd McConkey manning the field together. They're both sort of, slot receivers who can go on the outside. Somebody's going to have to. So we'll see how that shakes out. But, I guess worth a dart throw at this point in the draft. I really like Dylan Sampson, defense kicker, whatever. I really like Dylan Sampson. The Quinton Judkins situation has no end in sight at the moment. Best case scenario, we're probably looking at a 6-game suspension. That is standard for the commissioner when it comes to a domestic violence situation, regardless of the outcome of the legal process. So Judkins is impossible to trust. Sampson, a great roll of the dice late. And so is Josh Palmer because Khalil Shakir is nursing an injury. Mike's team 6. Puka, we already talked about. I would not be drafting Puka this high given the Matthew Stafford injury and the concerns about his availability. We are officially in kind of panic mode, I think it's fair to say. Yes, there's still time, but Stafford was supposed to be practicing this week, and he's not. So the concern is real. I would not be drafting Puka over Justin Jefferson, and at this point, I don't think I would take him like maybe the turn, maybe like closer to this area. So I wouldn't be drafting Puka this high. I like Josh Jacobs, but I don't have him ranked over Jonathan Taylor. So I don't know that that's where I would go. Nevertheless, he is a bell cow in a good offense that we expect to have plenty of scoring opportunities, so I don't have too many problems with that pick. Jaden Daniels has the QB3 off the board. I mean, you're expecting overall QB1 from him. We need Terry McLaurin, though. We need the Terry McLaurin situation to resolve. So there's a little bit of risk here. The upside is that Daniels could finish as QB1 overall because of his ability to run. There is some potential for like maybe a second-year sophomore slump. We've seen it before. Jaden Daniels looks like he might be the type of player to buck that type of trend. He might be that good, but we can't rule it out. It's possible. The NFL now has a year of tape on him. So we'll see how that shakes out. But nevertheless, he's got top quarterback overall upside, but we need Terry McLaurin in camp. Chuba in the 4th round, I like that. I think that's good value. They paid him this year. They did bring in Rico Dowdle, who I like for depth, but they gave Chuba RB1 money. Jonathan Brooks is on injured reserve. He will not play this year. And this Panthers offense is ascending. Bryce Young looked good to end the year. They brought in what appears to be a true wide receiver 1 in Tet McMillan. They've made some nice changes to the offensive line. I think there's good vibes here with Chuba Hubbard. So I do like that pick in the 4th round. The Njoku pick, not as much, Mike. I would not have drafted Njoku ahead of Kelsey or TJ Hawkinson. That is me personally. If you are bullish and believe in Njoku, then fair enough. But given the concerns about Cleveland's quarterback rotation, it could be musical chairs this year. We don't know how that shakes out. There's enough risk there where I would take Njoku in the 8th round, maybe the 7th round, but not in the 5th round, and not ahead of guys of like Kelsey and Hawkinson. I will say I like the wide receivers a lot that you got here, Mike. Adunze, Ridley, Golden, 6, 7, 8. I like all of those guys. I think Ridley is a lock for 170 targets. I think Matt Golden has the most upside of any Packers wide receiver with the first round draft capital. He is very enticing, very exciting, very interesting player with speed to kill. I think Golden is the Packers wide receiver to target the more and more I think about it. And then Adunze, we're expecting a breakout, 9th overall pick in last year's draft. Again, we want to believe in the Bears. We want to believe that they'll be a good offense. We want to believe Ben Johnson will lead this team to new heights and that Caleb Williams can provide solid quarterback play. I don't know that, we can expect generational quarterback play. He was drafted 101 overall. I don't know that we'll get that from Caleb, but if we can at least get solid, consistent play, then this Bears offense should be decent. Dobbins, sure, worth a shot as a depth running back guy. The Broncos signed him maybe a month ago, right? Month and a half ago. So he will split work with RJ Harvey. So fine veteran depth. Tucker Kraft. So because you drafted Njoku, I wouldn't draft Tucker Kraft in season-long redraft leagues. I only want to draft one tight end. Especially if I draft one high. I don't like having two tight ends. Like, this is fine. This not maybe not necessarily like these players in particular, but this is when I'm okay with having two tight ends. You draft one in the 11th round and one in the 12th round. That one I'm okay with. Not as much taking one in the 5th and then another in the 10th. That's a lot of capital for a volatile position, and you're only starting one of them anyway. So I wouldn't have drafted Kraft. But, he is Jordan Love's tight end 1. And with all the wide receiver injuries, I guess you could see him doing decently to start the season. Caleb, again, you drafted Jaden Daniels, so I wouldn't have drafted Caleb Williams. Jaden is your quarterback. I'm not worried about drafting backups. If you are in a league, it's fine to do this if you are in a league where your league mates hoard quarterbacks or they hoard tight ends. And there are some leagues that do this. This happens. Like, multiple players will draft 2 or 3 quarterbacks and 2 or 3 tight ends because that's their thought process. They want to protect themselves. They want to protect themselves from injury. They want to give themselves some flexibility and some options. I don't like to think that way. If I am drafting a player high at a 1Z position, 1Z mean you only start one of them, and in one quarterback leagues, you only start one quarterback, and you surely only start one tight end in almost every league. I only want to draft one of those guys, bank on those guys for a couple months, and then if they don't work out, or at least 1 month anyway, and if they don't work out, then there should be options on the waiver wire that are decent replacement level pieces that I can get for free later, as opposed to spending valuable draft capital on. So I wouldn't have drafted Kraft, and I wouldn't have drafted Caleb Williams. But if you're practicing for a league that hoards those positions, then fine. I like Marvin Mims. I really hope the Broncos make him a full-time player. I don't know if they will, but he is an explosive playmaker. He has big play upside. I like Mims as your wide receiver 5. I think that's a good addition. The Steelers should be solid on defense. They've revamped their secondary. They still have a really strong front 7. Obviously, Cam Hayward is a holdout right now, or he's a hold in. So his return to that defense would be a lot, would give you some relief, like a sigh of relief. But nevertheless, Pittsburgh has some really good pieces. So their defense should be fine. Braylon Allen, interesting change of pace back behind Breece Hall. It sounds like he will have a role, so I like taking the shot on him this late in drafts. And then Cam Little, we'll see. Expectations are going to be high with this Jaguars offense to score points, so we will see. Tebow, I know I like this team's build. Jefferson, London, Kittle, great start. That might be my favorite start of any team through 3 rounds. Without having gone through teams 8 through 12 yet. Well, not that I looked at the computer teams yet, but I think that's my favorite start. Jefferson at 7, London at the 206, Kittle at the 307. I think that's like smash, smash, smash. Like those are, if I had those picks available to me, those guys available to me at all 3 of those spots, given the way the board fell to that point, I would have done the same exact thing. I would be ecstatic with that start. I like it a lot. And then you get Jalen Hurts. You still end up with a top flight quarterback. Yes, you invest strong capital in him, but we expect Hurts to be a top flight quarterback, top 5 for sure, top 3 upside every week. And the tush push is here to stay for at least one more season. So I really like this start. Pacheco and Swift to start getting after some running backs, which makes sense. Pacheco's kind of boring, but he should lead the Chiefs' backfield in opportunities, so I don't mind that. Swift is a little bit of a question mark. We've seen him in Ben Johnson's offense before when they were both in Detroit. We saw Swift flash. We also saw them go in the doghouse multiple times because for one reason or another. So I don't know if that's going to happen again with Ben Johnson and DeAndre Swift. I would say it's certainly possible. So he's a little volatile, but in the 6th round, as the favorite to lead the team in touches right now, not a bad, I don't mind the pick. Jacoby Myers, Ricky Pearsall, some great depth at wide receiver. I like those picks a lot. I maybe would have taken Diggs over Jacoby Myers just because I expect Diggs to have a number 1 target share, whereas I don't know if Myers will out-target Brock Bowers for the Raiders. Nevertheless, I do like Jacoby Myers quite a bit. I think he's a rock-solid player, and he's younger than Stephon Diggs if you want to lean on that. Pearsall, great pick in the 8th round. I expect a strong season for him. I expect good production. No Debo, no Ayuk for who knows how long. McCaffrey is older. Kittle is older. Still good. Both of those guys are still elite, excellent at their positions. But Pearsall is a young, ascending wide receiver, their 1st-round pick from last year. Coming into his 2nd season, I like Pearsall a lot. These are good picks. Scatterbo, good roll of the dice. Could absolutely lead the Giants' backfield in opportunities when it's all said and done. Coleman, a nice dart throw with Shakir nursing an injury. Tootin, a solid dart throw. Tootin, you're not relying on right away. He's a play for the second half of the season if he can beat out Travis Etienne, which I'm not ruling out at this point. New coaching regime. We are now 2 coaching regimes removed for Travis Etienne since the team invested in him. They did invest in Bishal Tootin. That's a play for the second half of the season, and I quite like. Kyle Williams, another guy drawing a lot of intrigue, a lot of hype in Patriots camp. Trey Benson, same deal. Lots of good dart throws here. Tebow, this might be my favorite team. I think this is my favorite team that was assembled in this mock draft. Yeah, Cam Little was the guy to hit the 70-yard field goal. Okay, so there you go. Do you get 7 points in your league scoring for a 70-yard field goal or a 65? Would you get 6.5 points in your league scoring for a 65-yard field goal? You should. If your other positions are scored with fractional points, then your kicker should be as well. Just saying. But yeah, I think team 7 is my favorite. All right, my team 9, McCaffrey, Genti, so strong at running back right out the gate, 1 and 2. I'm that in redraft where running backs are still the anchor. I mix a little bit of youth with the veteran presence, so I actually kind of like that combo, the rookie and the vet. McCaffrey, the one who's done it. Genti, the next one, expected to do big things. So I like having those 2 guys. Those guys are gonna man my running back spots for as long as they are available. So I tried to wait as long as I could before worried about drafting another running back. Higgins, Evans, J-Mo, Hawkinson, Diggs. I feel pretty good about that. If I could have one pick back, I probably would not have drafted Jordan Mason. I was a little too worried about grabbing an RB3 when I maybe should have hammered a guy like Pearsall or Golden, both of whom I like quite a bit. So I'll ding myself for that one. I'm not, maybe I should have let the Jordan Mason pick wait a little bit longer because of the fact that I started my draft running back. McCaffrey and Genti are not getting supplanted out of that starting lineup unless there's an injury. So maybe I shouldn't have done that. Food for thought for next time. Shaheed, good dart throw. I'm willing to take him above consensus. I don't know how much upside he has, but he is a baller. He is a big-time playmaker. His quarterback situation isn't great, but I'm willing to take a shot. And then just, some dart throw running backs. We'll see if any one of them work out. Decent depth. If I could do one thing, and then Fields has QB1 upside as a runner, if nothing else. So I'm happy to get him in the 11th round. If I could do one thing over, I would not have drafted Jordan Mason. I would have taken either Golden or Pearsall here. Probably Pearsall. But overall, I don't mind how my team came together. And then Team 12, rounding out the human drafts. Who joined me. Thank you again to the folks who joined me in this draft. It was a lot of fun. Nico Collins, Devon Achane. Love that. Great 1-2 punch. Collins at 12, Achane at 13. That is a league-winning start. McLaurin and Tyreek Hill at the 3-12 and the 4-1. I quite like Tyreek at the 4-1. I like the roll of the dice on that. Tyreek has a great chance to bounce back and at least for one more season be the stud wide receiver that we expect him to be. So I like that spot for him. McLaurin makes me a little nervous because of the contract situation, because of the expected touchdown regression. I don't know that he's going to catch 13 touchdowns again. That is not a sticky stat. And the fact that he's not in camp right now, gives me a little bit of pause on him in general. I probably would have taken Mike Evans over Terry McLaurin. I would have taken Amari and Hampton over Terry McLaurin. I would have felt more comfortable if I were like Team 8, where they took Kenneth Walker. I would maybe take Terry McLaurin there. So I don't think it was an egregious reach to take McLaurin there, but there are a few players that I would have taken ahead of him just because of the contract situation. He's a great player attached to a great quarterback, but the off-field situation right now, being the contract negotiation distraction, knocks him down like half a round or so as far as how comfortable I am drafting McLaurin. I don't think it's an egregious reach, but there are a couple players that I would have taken over him there, namely Evans and Amari and Hampton. Love the Henderson pick. Absolutely love the Henderson pick. I think he's turning more and more into a guy where it's like, don't leave the 5th round without him. Wherever you draft in the 5th round, just like make that pick Travion Henderson. I think he's shaping up to be a really nice option. He's going to catch a ton of passes out of the backfield for New England. They do not have a ton of weapons in that offense. Henderson is probably also their most explosive playmaker too at the running back position. I think that's a great pick. And then Kelsey at tight end. Obviously we're talking about a future Hall of Famer. He's been like tight end 1 overall for 4 straight seasons prior to last year. Age is starting to become a factor. There might have been drop-off last year. Obviously, the Rashee Rice question marks kind of cloud his availability, so that boosts Kelsey's potential target share for at least the start of the season, so I like that. That being said, I would take Hawkinson over him, so I'm not crazy about the pick based on who was available. Again, not an egregious It's not a reach, not an egregious pick by any means. And Kelsey is an all-timer, so I don't blame anybody who believes in a guy who's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. But given Hawkinson's situation, no Jordan Addison for the first 3 weeks, and now a full year and a half removed from the injury, I would prefer Hawkinson, but that's just me. Godwin, a bit of a concern. We just don't know when he's going to be available and how long is it going to take him to get up to speed. I probably would have taken Pierce all over him. I might have taken Gold. If you wanted a wide receiver there, I might have taken Pierce all over him. I might have taken Golden over him. Probably not Shakir. But I probably would have taken Pearsall or Golden over him. I mean, Chris Godwin was a flat-out stud last year prior to the injury. I just don't know what his timeline is right now. We haven't been given concrete timelines for his return. But I do like the Brian Robinson pick. Solid depth. Purdy, good quarterback value. I think that's a good get right there. Ayuk, another injury question mark. He's dirt cheap in the 10th round, but Kyle Shanahan said today they're expecting week 6. I don't even know if that means week 6. It could mean a little earlier, but it could mean later. So I wouldn't draft Ayuk. That's just me. I especially would not feel comfortable drafting. I wouldn't feel comfortable drafting this many guys who are not practicing right now between McLaurin, Godwin, and Ayuk. McLaurin, because of the contract situation, at least we expect him to play eventually. But then getting Godwin and Ayuk, there's a lot of question marks in that tandem right there, that trio right there. I wouldn't feel comfortable adding all 3 of them to my team. I do like Rashad Bateman as solid wide receiver depth. The Isaiah Likely injury, he may miss a couple of weeks to start the season, so Bateman has a chance as a deep threat to get off to a strong start. And I wouldn't mind rolling the dice on Bateman in deeper leagues, DFS leagues, and the like week 1 as a dart throw wide receiver. With them playing Buffalo, we can expect a shootout that first game, that first matchup between Baltimore and Buffalo. So I like Bateman there. Garendo, solid running back depth, but he is missing time with injury right now. So again, you're adding a lot of pieces who are, Garendo we're expecting back sooner than later, but a lot of guys on this roster are either banged up or just not practicing in general for a variety of reasons right now. So I don't know that I want to put all my eggs in that basket. I don't know that I would want to have all of these guys on the same team. And then Lawrence, Aubrey, Chiefs. I'm okay with Lawrence. You drafted Purdy late. I probably wouldn't draft Lawrence, but because Purdy was a late pick and not a top slam dunk pick at quarterback, that's fine to take 2 quarterbacks. But I would imagine Lawrence is eventually a guy that you drop for maybe some wide receiver depth, considering Godwin and Ayuk are probably not going to be available for you week 1. I think that about does it for today. Let me just check a couple of these computer teams just to see if there's anybody that stands out. I wouldn't draft Joe Mixon in the 5th round. There's questions about his injury. Addison, I would hope to fall like a round because of the 3-game suspension. But overall, team 2 is not bad. Adams at the 410 is a little bit better than in this range, given the Stafford situation. Yeah, this team isn't bad. I actually don't mind this team 3. Decent running back depth. Some shooting for some upside at tight end with Loveland. Saquon, Bucky, Aaron Jones. Strong trio at running back. I would maybe have drafted another wide receiver in this range for some extra depth, but that's okay. Gibbs, Allen, Brown, Metcalf, Tet, Pickens, Olave. I think this start was okay, but the tail off, like ETN and Ramondre Stevenson and Kincaid and Kyle Pitt, lots of dart throws. Lots of unknown dart throws in this back, and I'll throw Olave in there as well. I like Olave, but health issues, quarterback issues. There's a lot of maybes in this area. And if you take Josh Allen in the second round, do not take another quarterback, especially in a mobile one like Jared Goff. Yeah, that's bad execution. It's a computer, so I'm not insulting anybody. But don't draft Allen in the second round and then take another quarterback 7 rounds later. If you draft Josh Allen in the second round, the third round would be better. But if you draft Josh Allen that high, he's your quarterback. Don't draft another quarterback. That's not good use of resources. But Gibbs, Chase, Brown, that's a pretty strong tandem at running back at the very least. Lamb, Taylor, Hall, Connor, Laporta, Devo, Shakir, Pittman. This team's wide receiver depth falls off a cliff. Shakir is injured. Pittman has question marks. Burden is probably a play for later in the season. We'll see about McMillan. Yeah. Team 8, Henry, AJ, Cook, Walker. So like Cook, contract, off-field situation. Rashee Rice probably facing a suspension. Jawan Jennings is injured. Darnell Mooney is injured. Tajay Spears is injured. This is a bad build by Team 8 right here. Too many. Cook is not. Cook is a off-field distraction and touchdown regression candidate, so I'm not crazy about him in the third round. Kenneth Walker has been in and out of practice and has an injury history in his short career, so I don't know that I feel super strongly about him. I really only like Henry and A.J. Brown. Every other play for them is a question mark. Rice suspension. Pollard is a good pick with Tajay Spears picking up the high ankle sprain, but Jennings injury, Mooney injury, and he handcuffed Tajay Spears when he probably shouldn't have. I say it was a computer. It should have not. Don't take Tajay Spears with the high ankle sprain. This is not a good build. Team 10, Neighbors, Thomas, Wilson, Hampton. I like that build, but that's because this ADP hasn't corrected yet. Hampton will be going higher than this, so don't expect to be able to pull something like this off from the 10 spot in your real league. Hampton is not going to last until the 4th round. But I like these first 6 picks because Worthy probably gets a boost in value, assuming Rashee Rice will get suspended. RJ Harvey, I like quite a bit as a rookie running back to continue to ascend to the top of the depth chart. Judkins, this is just a bad AI computer pick. Don't draft Quinshon Judkins. His season is in jeopardy right now, it feels like. In a best case scenario, we're probably looking at a 6-game suspension to start the season, and he's not practicing right now because of the off-field issues. So wouldn't draft Judkins. Bad use of resources taking these. It's not horrendous, but I wouldn't draft 2 tight ends in the first 100 picks. I would draft 1. Like if you didn't draft Mark Andrews and then you drafted Tyler Warren here and Jake Ferguson here, I like that better than this. I don't like that as much. Herbert, solid pick here, but I wouldn't, I would have just drafted Drake May in the 12th. So I wouldn't have gone with my second tight end. Trey Harris, Christian Kirk, okay, wide receiver depth, not spectacular. I like this team's first 6 picks, but then after that, I'm not crazy about what they did. And then Amon-Ra, Brock Bowers goes super high at 2-2. Harrison at 3-11, not bad. Burrow at 4-2. It's fine to believe in Burrow, but he has less rushing upside than the other frontline fantasy quarterbacks. And this team doesn't have any stacks. He doesn't have Jamar Chase. He doesn't have Chase Brown. He doesn't have T. Higgins. So I'm less bullish on drafting Burrow here. Burrow's awesome, but I wouldn't have drafted him here. Travis Hunter at 5'11". I actually don't mind that. I think he's a high risk, high reward play. So I like that pick. Montgomery, I'm fading relative to cost. I think Gibbs is taking over as more of like a full-blown player that they go to in this Lions backfield. Montgomery will still have a role. He's a very good player, but touchdown regression could be coming for him. No Ben Johnson. Frank Ragnow retired, so their offensive line play is going to take a hit. I think that affects Montgomery more than it affects a natural playmaker like Jahmyr Gibbs. So I'm not crazy about that pick. Kupp, we'll see. He's older, lost a step last year. He's in a worse offense than he's been at any point of his career. So I don't know about that. Tracy, question mark. Najee, question mark. I like Charbonnet as a depth running back. Kenneth Walker can't seem to stay healthy. So I actually like Charbonnet as a value. There's no way I would take Jake Ferguson after drafting Brock Bowers. Yeah, this is a computer doing silly computer stuff. Yeah, bad build. We'll do better next time, hopefully with a few more folks that want to join the mock draft. So maybe I can kick one off next week. But I think that will do it for me tonight. I don't see any other questions that I haven't gotten to in the chat. But appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out. Thank you to those who joined me for this mock draft. Thank you for those who were engaging in the conversation, questions, comments, etc. in the chat. Appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out. I will be back on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Maybe we'll do some wide receiver rankings, and of course, we'll do some AMA. Maybe we'll kick off another mock. Who knows? And then obviously, whatever latest news that develops, any headlines that develops between now and then, we will be sure to talk about them and cover them. But that, I think, will do it for me this evening. Thank you all. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Again, if you're interested in member perks with the season fast approaching, something you may want to consider for the season, those details can be found in the first link in the description of this stream and all streams and videos on the channel. But otherwise, I will see you guys on Thursday. Everybody have a good night. Thanks, guys.